Watch out, everybody. It's the pothead. He might get unmotivated.
Stay out of my vagina.
Show us on the doll where the network executive touched you.
Yes, you'd think they were announcing a gay porn.
What is with the fucking robot?
I am a word fetishist. I showed you mine. You showed me yours.
First one's free, just like heroin.
Ooh, girl. Ooh, girl. Ooh, girl. Ooh, girl. Ooh, girl.
Welcome to the show. I am that Chris Gore. This is PodCRASH. This is the show where you get to hear me as a guest each week on a different podcast. You get to discover new shows. I get to talk about a variety of topics. This week, I crashed a show called Succotash, the comedy podcast, hosted by Marc Hershon. Now this show is kind of like Talk Soup or Web Soup, where they play like clips from other podcasts. It's like highlights of other shows from that week. And so in a way, like I play clips from shows that I'm on as a guest. Me being on this show, it's kind of like Inception. It's like the inception of podcasts in a way. I'm on a show that plays clips from other podcasts where I play clips from that podcast. Anyways, all right, forget that. I am up late. I am packing because I am getting ready to go to Park City, Utah for the Festival Palooza that is Sundance, Slam Dance, and whatever sort of other dance festival that happens to invent itself this year. I am on the jury for Slam Dance, where I'll get to see all the premiere features that are there, and I'm looking forward to it because I have not been there in a long time. I haven't been there in maybe 2-3 years. I haven't been. Sort of taken a break from the festival circuit, but now that I'm unemployed and I've got a little time, I am taking advantage of it by going to see indie films where it's really, really cold. I'm going to go somewhere where it's cold so I can stay indoors and watch independent movies. And I really can't wait. So I will be there all this weekend. Couple of things. Our Star Wars Episode 7 SmackDown show was a huge success. The video and audio from that will be going up in a couple of weeks. We had some issues that we have to work out, but in any case, that's going to go up in a couple of weeks. It was amazing. You are going to want to be at our next show, which will be Saturday, February 23rd at 8 p.m. at IO West, 6366 Hollywood Boulevard. You get tickets now. It's going to be our Walking Dead show. We're going to be talking about Walking Dead and zombies. 8 p.m. is the show. You get more info at ioimprov.com/west or go to facebook.com/podcrash. All right, let's get to it. I have asked you all to send me letters, and some of you have sent me letters. Some of you have actually physically sent me letters to my mailing address, which I always give out at the very, very end of the show. But you can also email me at podcrashwiththatchrisgore@gmail.com. But I have some letters here, and I would like to read and respond to some of these letters, as I promised that I would. And so here we go. Let's see. This one is from Amanda Castillo. Just first off, I love your podcast. Before it, I never listened to them much, and because of yours, I've been introduced to so many new shows. As a thank you for your show and fan club kit, I've made you a Batman-style ornament. I hope you like it. I love that ornament. It was made of felt. I put it on my sort of semi-tree. I have kind of a tiny tree because I moved during the holidays. Not that much fun to do. So it didn't decorate as much as I did for the holidays. But Amanda, thank you so much for it. We'll be getting those PodCRASH fan club kits out soon. They are at the printers. You're going to love them. You're going to love your PodCRASH fan club kit, which you can only get if you listen to the end of the show. You find out all this secret information. I'm not going to tell, but Amanda, thank you so much for your letter. That was great. Another letter here. My name is Willie, and I was listening to your podcast when I heard about sending you a letter. Oh, that's great. You sent me a letter. Let me start off by saying I love the podcast, man. It's a great way to discover your other podcasts. I first started listening to it when I found out you had a podcast during your DVDs Day reviews on Attack of the Show. It really sucks to see you guys go. Yes, it does suck. It does suck. But the way I look at it is, I'm not going anywhere. You know, the show may be gone, but we're still around. I'm around. Kevin Pereira is around. He's doing a show called Pointless, this podcast called Pointless with Kevin Pereira. Candace Bailey is going to be around. Sarah Underwood's going to be around. Matt Myra, he's around. You can listen to him on Nerdist or his other podcast, Phoebe. The show is going away. The people on the show that you love, we are still around. So you just have to find other ways for us to enjoy whatever it is that you enjoy about what we do. So I want to thank you for that letter, William Neep, Kneip. How would you pronounce that? I think Neep, William Neep. Oh man, I would be the worst substitute teacher. Because I would be mispronouncing all these names. In any case, William, thank you for your letter. You asked for a shout out on the show. It's too late. It's too late for that. But hit me up on the Facebook, and I will say good luck in your mechanical engineering and graphic design. That was awesome. That was great. Let's see, a couple other letters here. This one is from Steve in Burien, Washington. First of all, I want to thank you for taking time in your busy schedule to read my letter. I recently spent over 4 months in the hospital where I was bedridden from a respiratory disease that hit me from out of nowhere. Oh, my God. That's horrible. I spent my days and nights recuperating stuck on a breathing machine in front of a television. I had little to look forward to, and it about drove me crazy. I was fortunate enough to be able to enjoy a lot of your work. Thank God for DVDs and CDs. And believe me, it was a real treat. At that time, I made a promise to myself that if I ever get out of this mess, I would do my very best to thank you for saving my sanity. Well, wow, thank you for thanking me. Although, wow, the fact that you survived all this is amazing and wrote this letter. Things are much better now. That's great to hear. And I found an old picture of you in a magazine. So when I have a bad day, it reminds me that laughter is the best medicine. I found a picture of you in a magazine. Laughter is the best medicine. What was the magazine? This is weird. You've taught me that you can pretend to be serious, but you can't fake being funny. Oh, wow, that's sweet. Thank you for what you do, and may you do it for a long time to come. Best to you and yours. That's Steve from Burien, Washington. That was great. Your fan forever, he says. That's awesome. Right under that letter, of course, is a notice of termination of employment from NBC Universal. Happens to be at the bottom of my pile of letters. I guess this is where I put all the important letters. I also said that I would read, and I have not done in a while. I'm going to read some of the reviews on iTunes. Because you know that if you post a review on iTunes, whether you post a 5-star review or whatnot, or you post a comment, that actually bumps us up in the rankings on iTunes, which really helps out the show. It helps other people discover the show. So let me look at a couple of these comments here. An awesome Whitman sampler of podcasts. That's EQ Washu. Oh, thank you for that. And gives me 5 stars. That's great. Most entertaining hour of your day. That Matt Garrison. Oh, that's great. Been watching Chris on Attack of the Show for years, listening to PodCRASH since he started it. Keep up the great work, Chris. Oh, thanks, Matt. Listen by D. Garcia. The podcast is not only funny, entertaining, and insightful. All right, see, I don't want to, all this stuff is really nice stuff. Funny Show by Duo Dave. Well, thank you for that. Crapcast, 1 star. Wait a second, what is this? Is it by Mumble to My Neighbor? Okay, that's his username. Unlistenable and boring. 1 star. All right, fine. Unlistenable and boring. All right. You have a right to your opinion. I'm just hoping that you listened to a few of the shows and came to the conclusion before you actually put the 1 star. All right, great show, David Cottingham. Great podcast, Rocker 420-2. Rocker 420, there must be 2 Rocker 420s. Love this show, Roger Sandoval Jr. Oh, Roger, thank you for that. I've seen your comments before. Great door to a slew of cool podcasts. All right, let's get into the slew of cool podcasts. Marc Hershon does this show called Succotash. And I met Marc actually at the LA Podcast Festival, which was in Los Angeles, put on, of course, by my buddies over at Comedy Film Nerds. Graham Elwood and Chris Mancini, and met Marc, and it was interesting because he was telling me about a show, and I said, I love that show. I want to listen to that show. I want to listen to that show all the time. Started listening to the show, and it's amazing. He asked me to bring clips to play for him, so I brought clips to play from other podcasts that I happen to like, and he brought clips, and we sort of listened to each other's clips and then spoke in between. So you're gonna hear me. Normally, I interrupt the show and offer commentary about what's going on, and really this sort of speaks for itself. There's really not much need to comment because you're hearing. I think it would be confusing if I kept interrupting a podcast where you hear me play clips from other podcasts. I might interrupt. I'll interrupt maybe a little bit in the middle just to give you, you know what I'm doing? I'm just gonna talk at the end because it'll be too confusing. But I actually was this was recorded actually in San Francisco in the lobby of the Marriott in San Francisco, the Marriott Marquis, which when WonderCon used to be in San Francisco, that was my favorite hotel to stay at. But I was up in town for the Stitcher Awards, the 2012 Stitcher Awards, which, you know what, I was a nominee, did not win, but was very happy just to be a part of it and to meet other podcasters. And this was taped the same day. We recorded this the same day as Succotash Day, which is weird. Now, let me tell you about Marc, though. Marc is an amazing, interesting dude. He's, first of all, a comedian. He's a producer. He's the co-author of a book, which is, I have not read the book, but he gave me a copy of the book. It's called I Hate People. Kick loose from the overbearing and underhanded jerks at work and get what you want out of your job. It's the front of the book says, I hate people in really giant letters. I cannot wait to read this book in public. Just to have a book that says, I hate people. In fact, this is a fun thing to do, actually. Because reading a book in public, you're saying something about yourself by actually holding a book that you read in public. A fun thing to do is to actually make fake covers for books, or to take covers from other books, put it on a book. Maybe you're embarrassed to read a book. You take a different cover, sort of a jacket from another book, put it on your book, or actually make on your computer a fake cover to a book. But I Hate People in giant letters is on this book. I'm definitely going to be reading that in public. But the cool thing about Marc is his main job is creative director at a company called Lexicon Branding. Something amazing about Marc, he is a guy who names things, okay? So, for example, he came up with the name for BlackBerry, all right? His claim to fame, he named the BlackBerry. That is crazy. His entire job is coming up with names for things. That's insane. And then on the side also, in addition to that, the guy writes screenplays. This is a multifaceted, creative dude, and we're around the same age. So I think we bonded so well because I think we both like to have jobs that are creative and challenge us. And then I think Marc will agree with me. I don't think either of us is satisfied just doing one thing. I like to do multiple things. So for me, doing a podcast, working on a couple animated web series, doing stand-up comedy, doing improv shows at IO West. These are some of the things that I'm doing. And Marc, a very diverse career with doing podcasts, screenwriter, and a guy who names things like the BlackBerry. That's crazy. That is an insane, crazy... That's a weird job. I would love to have a job where you name things. That would be awesome. All right, so let's get to it. It's Marc Hershon, Succotash. It's too long of a story. I don't want to bore you. I'm writing a book about all this. If you want to read more about Film Thread, I have. The thing is, we were just talking about naming things.
Yes.
This is part of what you do.
That is what. Yes, it is.
And I'm blown away that that's part of what you do. Because naming things, I am a word fetishist. I love alliteration. I'm a big fan of portmanteau. I love to. I don't know. I fetish for words as I know that you are.
Oh, well. Absolutely. I mean, it was trying to come up with a name for this podcast. For what I do, I play snippets of other people's podcasts. Succotash.
Succotash. It's perfect.
And it has the word "suck" in it, which you can't.
Right.
You can't miss.
Which I mean, this episode could suck. Will blame myself.
Oh, not at all.
Blame myself.
It has a guest host, so it's already better than most of them.
Well, I can't come up with a name for my book.
You will.
What is the name of the book about Film Threads? What could the name of that book be? I can't think of. This is the thing, because name ties into theme. Naming things. Like, we could sit here and talk all day about what a name means and the origin of a name and that stuff. I love stuff like that. Like,
well, sometimes the thing has to come out. Just like you, I have people bring me their film scripts and their books and say, "Hey, help me title this thing." And sometimes, just based on the premise, you come up with the title. Sometimes I have to read the whole damn thing and go, you know what, this character on page 74 says this. These two words in that sentence would be a perfect title.
And I love the names of things. Like, I love a name that tells you what it is, but also has, like, that sort of second read.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it's like, that's a double meaning. Or, like, on a movie poster, like a second, that you can see something else.
That's right.
In it if you look at it. Like, to me, second read or sort of deep, subtext is really important. I can't come up with a name for my book. about film threads.
Well, it's so close to you.
That's what you do. Come up with a name for film thread, but I would really owe you if you came up with one.
Nah, don't worry about it.
What would be the name?
First one's free, just like heroin.
Thank you. That's awesome.
More recently, you've been on G4 as one of the hosts on Attack of the Show.
And I will be leaving there very shortly.
That's what I understand. So
Yes.
first of all, tell us what that experience has been like, and then you can tell us what's happened that you're going to be moving on.
Well, I mean, first of all, I've been there for almost 8 years. It's been like, it would be, if the show lasts until March, it won't. It'll be 8 years. But I started there when it was called the Screensavers, left over from Tech TV, and I had some bad experiences in television. I won't say exactly what, but I did a game show for IFC. I did. I'm serious. I did a show for FX.
Show us on the doll where the network executive touched you.
But it was one of those things where I just had some bad experiences on TV. But really simply was I just wanted to be myself on television. And I'd never had an experience where I was able to be myself. It was, they'd bring someone in, I'd be doing wardrobe tests. I felt like a piece of meat, like, they bring you in, they tried to, like, no, this is not me. So when I came into G4, I said, I didn't do an audition, I didn't do a test. It was Gavin Purcell, who's now the producer of the Jimmy Fallon show. He brought me in and said, look, I did something I didn't remember. I'd done a National Enquirer TV segment when he was a producer, and he remembered me and thought I was funny, and he was like, I need a guy to do this movie segment. I said, okay, I could be your guy, but I said, I have 3 demands. Very simple. I get to say whatever I want within reason. I can't swear or whatever.
Right.
I know what I can say on television. I will be respectful, so I'm not going but I can say whatever I want in terms of my opinion. I can wear whatever I want. So I can wear whatever T-shirt I wear. Like, I can be myself. I can wear a whatever. Like, I wore a shirt on Attack the Show once that said, I heart your vagina. And I argued that vagina is a medical term and I should be able to wear that shirt. So, and then I also said I want to be able to keep the DVDs that I review on the show. And they said, well, you can't keep the DVDs because we need them for our library. So they were only able to honor the first 2 demands. They weren't really demands, just like, I wanted to...
Yeah.
I've never had the experience of being able to be myself. As a performer, you understand this.
Oh, absolutely.
When you can reach a place where you can be who you are and find out what that is, the entertainer version of who you are, it's a really important thing to find that out. And I hadn't been able to be in a space where I could do that. I was always being overproduced, I felt.
Yeah.
You got to say this, and at the out you say this, and then at this you talk to this person. And it's like, how about having a natural, real conversation like you and I are having now?
That's right, yeah.
Although I'm doing most of the talking, I will admit. I'm doing most of the talking, which is irritating.
Well, that's because I'm interviewing you.
Well, yes, but
Wait till we get into the co-hosting part. That'll be different.
I do tend to talk too much. I feel bad. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it. So 8 years is a really good run, and
it's a good run, but that's why I feel good about it.
But you went from being kind of a neophyte. I mean, you've done other things, but here 8 years on one thing, you must have become fairly facile in the whole bit of that business you were doing.
It was fun. I mean, it was just one of those things where it's like, I think I was only nervous the first time I was on because I never worked with the people on Attack the Show. The very first time. After that, I was like, this is so easy. And it was great. I mean, I really, there's not much I can say bad about the experience other than, I wish I got to do more.
We're going to get into our clippage part of the show.
Oh, the clip part of the show. This is the best part.
And
This is fun.
We're going to start. I asked Chris to pick some clips. I have some clips. We shared them before this show started, so we know what we're listening to here.
Yes, you showed me mine. I showed you mine. You showed me yours.
That's right,
so to speak. It's like we're in preschool.
And we're going to show everybody one of yours right now. And we're going to start with the Joe Rogan Experience. He's a popular comedian. He's a commentator for UFC. And he was host for a very long time for Fear Factor on NBC. And I think they try to revive that this season? I think they did.
Yeah, I think so. But, I like Joe Rogan for a very specific reason. But we should talk about it after the clip.
Okay. Here's a clip from the Joe Rogan Experience.
Have you gone? Did you go to the Congo? Yeah. See, that's where I draw the line.
I've been to Goma, and it's right now it's going fucking crazy.
The only way I would go to the Congo is if someone absolutely showed me.
We're going to find the apes.
I could see one of those apes.
Yeah,
those giant.
We're still working on it.
It's a real animal, bro. It's a real animal. That's something you don't have. That's not like a Sasquatch at you.
Did I ever tell you about David showing the dinosaurs?
Yes, I watched that episode.
Right.
They believe there's a brontosaurus in the Congo.
Yeah.
Hey, look, there's alligators.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to wrap our heads around the idea that alligators fucking survived.
Sure.
The
I want
thing that killed the
alligator
Yucatan.
blood.
You know, I'm reading this Chris Ryan book, Sex at Dawn. Fascinating book. And he talks about the name Yucatan, and that what the name came from is one of the American or one of the Christopher Columbus's settlers. You don't have to worry about where you blow that, man. I grew up in comedy clubs and pool halls. Let that shit go. Don't worry about it. He asked them, "What is the name of your land?" And the guy said something like, you know, in whatever the Mayan tongue is. And so they said Yucatan. Okay, Yucatan. That was like as close to it. Right. Turns out when scholars reviewed what the actual original word was, because I guess they wrote it down somewhere, it means in Mayan, I don't understand you. So when people go down to Cancun and they go get their freak on for spring break, they're in the I don't understand you peninsula.
Well,
Christopher Ryan,
that's
bad
interesting.
motherfucker.
Like,
great
it's
book.
like when they went to India, they said, where are we? And they're like, Mumbai. And you're like, Bombay. Perfect.
Exactly, perfect.
Love it.
Well,
where are you? Beijing. Peking. Love it.
Well, like Greece. They don't call themselves Greece, right? Don't they have
Hellas.
another name? Yeah, Hellas. There's a couple different countries like that. Japan is Nippon.
Yeah.
They have.
that's another place where we just shot Greece. Holy fuck.
Yeah, Greece is completely insolvent. Is that the case?
Well, it is, and so we just shot the riots in Greece, France, Spain, Italy, and actually the rise of the neo-Nazis in Germany. But
Jesus!
but
They're back.
They're back.
Don't call it a comeback. How
they're-
could you get fucking Nazis again in Germany? Really, Germans?
Yeah.
Really, folks? Come on, you got the internet. You got 4G, you motherfuckers.
Actually, what
Faster internet than us.
Do they, Brian? Than us, yeah.
No, this year.
Are we online at all?
Well, I found out that you probably have DSL, and which is like the worst internet in the world.
Right.
And so I put it down to like mobile bandwidth style. So
Right.
like it's such a low
Right.
bandwidth. So
But is it working?
Barely.
You're a technological genius.
Well, he's a bad motherfucker, and without him, I'd be lost.
and
It's
he
been
has
proven multiple times.
great T-shirts, and I want one.
And he has a great taste in women. So he's a bad motherfucker, that Brian Redman. Yeah. So, you mean, look, man, I love you, but
I
every
love
time
you.
we get together, we start talking doom and gloom, and I fucking shit my pants. And I want to believe that there's a way out of this. I want to believe that
there is.
I know that
There
I've
is.
changed as a human being.
There is, and I've got to say this. Because it's up to guys like you, guys like me, and guys like everyone listening to this podcast to say, we have the power.
Dude, that's a lot of responsibility.
We have
I want to
the
get
power.
high and watch The Hobbit.
All right, that's the Joe Rogan Experience. You can find more at deathsquad.tv. He's also on iTunes and, of course, also on Stitcher Smart Radio, which hosts not just Succotash, but...
PodCRASH and the Stitcher Awards.
Exactly.
Which you're going to as my guest.
I am. So tell us more about the Joe Rogan Experience and why you find him appealing.
I'm a weirdo. I'm just going to say off the top that if you listen to my show, you learn very quickly that I'm a weirdo. I like things for different reasons than other people like things. For example, football, which Monday Night Football is playing in the background at this bar at the Marriott Marquis in San Francisco where we're hanging out. I love football, but not for the same reasons that most people do. Most people love football for the athleticism, for the competition. I like it because it's the most gay sport that you could possibly witness. It's men in leotards and tights basically being described in language that if you didn't know that the announcers were talking about football, you'd think they were announcing a gay porn. He got full penetration right up the middle. There's about 10 guys in that pile. It's all about ball control. If you would think that the announcers were talking about gay porn. So I'm sitting here loving football, watching it.
For all the wrong reasons.
Ironically, exactly. I'm watching it ironically going, I freaking love it. I love it that people give a shit about men playing with their balls. Now, Joe Rogan, a lot of people take what that guy says very seriously. I love Joe Rogan because it's like listening to the unfiltered, incredibly high mind speak. He is high on pot off his gourd, just speaking his mind. He's very paranoid. He believes in a lot of conspiracy theories about things, and so I find it entertaining as hell. I don't take what he says seriously. I love that he's able to say this stuff in a completely deadpan, serious way. So I'm listening to Joe going, holy crap. And I love that he also like he'll just tell you all of these theories, right? We have these guests on, and I love that about him. I love listening because it's like listening to your high friend explain like the theory, like remember that scene in National Lampoon's Animal House?
Oh yeah,
where they're talking about how there could be a universe in your finger. It's like hanging out with that guy.
Oh, that's funny.
And going like, I can't get, no matter how much pot I have, I can't get that high. So I love listening to Joe because it's like he's like high enough to have those thoughts, but sober enough as someone who's high to be able to explain it to you. And I love that about Joe.
Yeah.
So maybe I listen to Joe slightly ironically, but I do love
as long as you find it entertaining. That's the important thing. Now, I'm glad
entertaining as hell.
I'm glad you found that clip because I've been trying to get a clip from Joe's show for a while, and his show's like 2 or 2.5 hours long, and I just have trouble because it's one of these.
You can't find a short clip because it's really the amount of detail he goes into.
That's the
I was
challenge.
Talking to this guy, and civilization was way before.
And then he
was
goes
like
off on
30,000 years before Christ. And he goes, and I'm sitting here going like, this is fucking on. It is like great conspiracy theory, science fiction mixed with I'm high. I kind of believe this stuff. But the thing is, this, what I love is it's like no solutions or no. It's sort of like
no conclusions.
It's like no conclusions. It's sort of like, man, our government's effed up. Let's just go back and get high. It's just like any person who does recreational drugs a little too much. It's like we'll complain about the state of things, but never actually do anything because they'll depend on other people to do it. Other people like my listeners.
Well, you know what?
And I can't. I would not want to burden anyone listening to my show with that kind of responsibility. I won't ask you to do anything.
Now you were talking about football. I am not a sports fan at all.
You should. But see, the thing is, if you can look at it ironically, like we're looking at this football game in the background right now.
What I can't get past, and maybe you can explain why they do this.
It's so gay.
The robots. What is with the fucking robots?
Oh, that's on Fox Sports. They do this thing with these robots. I don't know. Kids like Transformers.
But why?
I feel like they do. But they do these things to bring in, they do this with the Olympics also, is they try to bring in other audiences, right?
Okay.
So the way they make Olympics relevant to people who don't care about sports is, especially, and this is what they say, and I'm not saying this to be a sexist.
Yeah.
I'm saying this is what their research is like. To get women interested in watching sports, they play up the drama, which is this person used to be the coach of this team, but now they're playing each other, and they really don't like each other. And so, like,
it's like reality television.
It's like reality TV. Yeah. They do that, especially in the Olympics. They get the families involved, and they get like what the stakes are, and it's like, well, I really care about this person now.
Right. Then they have 16-year-old gymnasts for the guys.
Exactly. Then they're invested, right? Plus the fact that those gymnast outfits are very tight. Yes. Just like football, the bottoms on football players, they're freaking tights. Dude, they're wearing ballet tights.
Yeah.
Okay. It's ridiculous. So I like a lot of things that are popular, but not for the normal reasons that others would like those things. There's a reason that from the time I was in elementary school that I was called Weird Chris or That Chris Gore. I would hear, that Chris Gore, which is my Twitter handle, is actually something I've heard since junior high. Because I was always considered a weirdo or that Chris Gore. I'm not joking. So,
Speaking of weirdos, which is not a very good segue into this clip that I've pulled out, but I ran into a guy who's a producer of this show, and they've only had 2 episodes. I think they might have just dropped their 3rd. It's called Lost Moon Radio, and it's a comedy ensemble out of Los Angeles, and it's a group of writers and actors, and there's too many of them to usually like mentioning who's in the things, but there's so many of them, I'm not sure who's in this piece. This piece is clipped just from the very front of the show, so I got really lucky because it's a great self-contained piece. So here's, we'll talk about it afterwards. Here's Lost Moon Radio.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Isaac Rabe. I'm here with Dr. Ellen Eisner, and our first caller is Terry, calling from Indio. Terry.
Hi, Doctor. Hi, Isaac.
Hi, Terry. How can we help you?
Well, on Saturday, my boyfriend and I were having sex near this pond, and when he ejaculated, he came all over the ground, and then, I don't know why, but I just sort of, sat in it, and then, rubbed it on my back. and I just want to know if that's normal.
How long have you known this guy, Terry?
Not long, like a few days.
And what species are you, Terry?
I'm a frog.
Okay, actually, Terry, that's very common among certain genii of frogs. Some female frogs do carry the eggs on their back.
Okay, that's a relief.
The real question here is whether or not he's going to come back when they hatch.
He's a bum to walk out on you like that, Terry.
He may well come back, Terry, but I need you to know that most male frogs don't. Traditionally, you would now go to the river and bury the eggs in the mossy shore.
Okay, well, maybe I'll go to the river then. I was kind of thinking of doing that anyway.
All right, thanks, Terry. Now I got Lisa from Santa Rosa on the line. Lisa.
Hi, Doctor. Hi, Isaac.
How can we help you, Lisa?
Well, last night I was walking around my neighborhood, and, well, someone came up behind me, and before I knew it, he was humping me. And I don't know what to do.
Have you told anyone, Lisa?
Not yet.
And what species are you, Lisa?
I'm a bear.
Okay. Lisa, I gotta tell you, because it seems like maybe your friends and family haven't talked to you candidly about sex. That's the way it is for bears.
Really?
Yeah, it's not usually up to the female bear. It's just, something she endures for the sake of procreation.
Oh, well, I am happy about that, I guess.
Yeah, Lisa, just try to enjoy it when it happens.
Okay, thanks, Doctor.
Bye, Lisa.
All right, our next caller is Jerry from Pasadena. Jerry.
Hi, guys.
What can we do for you, Jerry?
Well, whenever I'm having an orgasm, my eyes get really red, and they bulge out pretty far. And I sweat this substance, like this mucus that covers my body. And when I ejaculate, my ears start ringing, and there's this smell like gasoline. I just want to know if that's normal.
Jerry, are you a snake?
What? No, I'm a guy. I'm a human.
Okay, you need to see a doctor immediately.
Really?
Absolutely.
Yesterday, Jerry. All right, we got time for one more call before the break. Jeanette.
Yeah, I'm a praying mantis, and whenever I have sex...
Hey, you bite his head off. It's normal.
Really? Like, I kill him.
Totally normal, Jeanette. We get at least one praying mantis call a night. All right, we're going to take a little break here, and then we'll be back with some more mating calls.
There you go. So that's Lost Moon Radio. I think they're great. I love that ensemble comedy feel. It sounds fantastic. They're at lostmoonradio.com. They're also on iTunes.
And Mark, just as someone who loves improv comedy, you must have an appreciation for what they did. I mean, they created all of that with audio and hearing the. I perform at IO West in a couple of comedy shows, Comic Book Live, Glory Stories. These guys really. I mean, they're doing great sketch slash. I wonder how much of that is improv, but I gotta say, that seems more sketch to me. But great laughs, and now I want to see their show. I gotta look them up and find out where they perform.
Yeah, what I love was I started listening to that and go, man, this is kind of seamy sounding, because the girl talking about making love by the pond and all that, and then as soon as you hear the first thing, you go, okay, this is going to be funny.
Yeah, mating calls.
Yes.
That would be a great show.
It would be. It would be. It's fantastic. So that's Lost Moon Radio. Next up, we're going to do a clip that you found. This is Pointless. With Kevin Pereira?
Or is it Kevin Pereira on Kevin Pereira's Pointless? I don't know. Pointless, I know, is the name of the show, and Kevin is, of course, a colleague of mine that I worked with for nearly 8 years on Attack of the Show. He was the host of Attack of the Show. To me, the Attack of the Show was Kevin Pereira and friends. Okay, until Olivia came in for a couple of years, then she kind of, and that's what's so great about working with Kevin Pereira. On Attack is he's a very selfless performer. Nice. He's the kind of guy that's like, we'll just make it about you. And also, he's one of those guys that, like, what's weird is I would always get a lot of questions about Kevin whenever I'm out and about, and people recognize me from Attack of the Show. They ask about Kevin Pereira. He is the nicest guy. His off-camera demeanor, he is the best person I've ever worked with in television,
really? That's
period.
Fantastic.
Was Kevin. Just, and also one of those guys that, unfortunately, I feel that never... He, like me, feeling a frustration that I never got to be myself on camera, and G4 allowed me to do that, and Kevin, I think, never got to be his full self on camera.
Okay.
And I feel that what he's able to do on Pointless is actually be himself on a podcast, because he's got hours to speak on topics. And this guy is so much smarter than Attack of the Show would allow him to ever be.
Well, let's give a listen.
I want to get to Shark Tank real quick, because
because
we were talking about product placement and how it's done wrong.
And I love love shots of cell phones in anything. It's just the world's greatest.
Cell phones, sodas, pretty much. I mean, anything. Let's get to this clip. This is the clip that Freddie had never been treated to the deliciousness that is Shark Tank.
All right, let's look at the opening.
Oh, we're going to start with the opening?
Yeah, you should.
All right, let's do the opening. For those who don't know, Shark Tank is a show. Okay, well, pause it. It's already so good. It's already so good. Oh my God. You got to go back. All right. So Shark Tank is a show with a panel of investors. These are millionaires. Some of them are billionaires. They sit in chairs, and people, everyday folks, walk in and pitch their ideas for a new energy drink, or for a crazy new sports car, or for a website that helps you sell real estate. And then the sharks eviscerate them. They demolish them. What's your sales? Blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm going to give you $250,000 for 40% stake. Fuck you. I'm going to come over there and give you an angry dragon, and I'm taking your whole company. Like, it's just a bunch of people bickering in a room. Oh, I love it. It's one of my favorite shows on television. But the intro, I wanted to dissect it with someone like Freddie who understands B-roll. He understands stock footage. To me, it's like they have to introduce these millionaires and make you, the home audience, know, these are powerful
and rich,
respectable people. They smell like fucking money.
And leather and scotch.
Oh, my God, yes. Cuban cigars. Let's play it. It's so good.
Easy, dude. Welcome to the Shark Tank.
So welcome to the Shark Tank. Here we go.
Oh, man.
Opening shot. Pause. Opening shot.
They're trying to. They're like, all right, you know what this? You know what we need? We need Armageddon. The astronauts walking down. It's the slow motion, like guys like walking towards camera.
Walking down a runway.
They're saving.
They're not pilots, but they can own an airport. They probably have a fleet of jets. They're millionaires. So it's a shot of them walking like badasses. You need to comp an explosion behind them, Freddie, please.
And it's like Tony Scott style, like cutting. And,
look, there you go. American flag draped in the hangar. Mark Cuban standing behind the Lamborghini, or is that a Ferrari?
That's a Mercedes,
I'm clearly not a millionaire.
Looks like a Mercedes.
I know. Oh, that's on the right. It is. Yeah, on the left. That's a Ferrari.
It's a Ford Focus, I think. Actually.
It's a Fiesta, guys.
And is that really quick? Is that the space shuttle behind them?
It might be
the tail of the space shuttle.
That might be they endeavor to make billions. All right, so we've already got.
By the way, I love that the guy on the left and the guy on the left's like, you know what? No tie. Don't need the tie.
That's Mark Cuban, and you're going to see Mark Cuban also. By the way, Mark Cuban, one of my favorite people on this planet. Like outspoken, honest, like genuine investor, entrepreneur. Like does it right. But they try to make him seem like the everyman, and he is more so than everybody else. But you called it out right away, like no tie.
No tie.
You know what? Fuck that shit.
I don't need a tie.
All right? I got the casual. I don't need the business.
I got my Bell helicopter behind me. I don't need a tie.
He's ready to go. All right, so that's good. There we go. Getting out of cars.
Oh, the suspenders.
Getting out of cars. Oh,
the head turn.
That was it.
Head turn.
Oh, the head turn. I watch. This is the one thing on my DVR that I will never skip. I will never skip the Shark Tank intro. Pause it, because it's right there.
Oh man, it's just little dainty hair flip.
An investor gets out of the car and does a whip snap of a head turn towards the camera that you cannot do unless you make seven figures.
Oh yeah, and
you're not allowed.
What was he looking at before the head snap?
It was as if the camera crew startled him.
He's like, "Oh, there you are."
He was a gazelle in the brush. What? Yes, I have millions. It's an amazing head turn. I love this intro.
Quick adjustment of the watch. Here I am.
Now let's cut to businessmen on plane.
This is what I'm saying. This looks like stock footage of like rich people making like it's like they got all these people to be in stock footage.
I feel like I'm whatever 12 DVD real estate series they're going to sell at the end of whatever this video is. I'm buying because I want to get rich quick.
I think there's a timeshare involved somewhere.
Kevin's he's in an airplane there, Mr. Wonderful as he's known on the show. Here he is in his empty boardroom, hands on the table.
That's the ultimate position of like power pose, right? It's standing with your fingers splayed out on the table.
Right.
So what are you doing? Are you playing piano or something? Are you getting up? Like, what is this supposed to mean?
He's like, I will position you in front of me and take you from behind. That's all that is saying right there. That's a power bottom or power top position, rather. Power top. So here we go. Yeah, shaking hands in the boardroom.
Oh, hold on. Hands. Guy here on the left is going for the handshake arm grab.
Yep.
That is how business is done.
Extra respect for this handshake.
The guy on the right, by the way, in the red tie, is just like looking. He's like, yeah, he's just did a handshake.
Millions. So wait for there's a pensive. He's back in the airplane now, signing a document with his pen, and he does this look out the window, which to me is just like, man, he is either contemplating. Wait for it. There it is.
No way.
He's looking outside. He's like, guys.
Oh my God.
Guys, I just signed a contract. We got to land this fucking thing. I've got billions to make.
Right. So that's either Kevin Pereira is pointless, or pointless with Kevin Pereira.
But Kevin is, and there are other episodes that, like, his first episode has to be my favorite. It's a new show on Death Squad.
It's on Death Squad
also
TV,
on Death Squad.
Also on iTunes, also on Stitcher.
But Kevin is just getting started with that show. I'd almost rather hear a whole show with just Kevin talking, because he, like Joe Rogan, is so much fun to listen to when he's high.
Oh, really?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sensing a theme.
Yes.
Theme about highness and enjoyment of listening to people that are high, and conspiracy theories. And
not to preach so much about legalization of marijuana. It's sort of semi-legalized in California for medical use. If you have the card, sure. If you've got the card, but we've heard about so many. I was asking a friend recently, how many times have we heard that story of someone who OD'd from marijuana?
Oh, tragic. Never.
How many tragic deaths from people overdosing on marijuana? I feel that, like, I've just known so many friends, and I'm someone that will, on occasion, do an edible. On occasion, but it has to be under controlled circumstance, meaning I'm not driving anywhere, I'm not going anywhere. I'm very responsible about any sort of recreational anything use. Yeah. With that kind of thing, but every time I've ever seen someone who's responsible about using it, they do it in a way that they're not putting anyone else in harm, including themselves.
I always like Rick Overton's line about pot smokers. He's been on the show before. He's a good friend of mine. He does a thing about the pothead. Watch out, everybody! It's the pothead. He might get unmotivated.
Exactly. That's what I say. It's like, it's really, it is in terms of just like I really think that alcohol is much worse for you. Oh, absolutely. Than marijuana. From what I have observed, I would say that the most negative aspect may be being unmotivated, but I don't know.
Now, I've actually never smoked pot, just to let you know.
I have smoked it. I don't like to smoke, physically smoke. No one in my family ever smoked. We just don't. I don't come from a family of smokers. So even like cigarette smoke, I will be sick the next day. I will have nasal issues.
Yeah, I'll smoke the occasional cigar if I'm, with friends or something.
I can't do it. Clove cigarettes is the worst that I do, and even that will just make me sick. So I don't come from smoking doesn't do it for me. But I'll do an edible and it'll be like, that was a great cupcake. Oh, I would love to. You know what? Those cupcakes make this show so much funnier. House is the best comedy on television from a cupcake.
That's funny. It is actually a pretty funny show. I loved House. I just read that he is going to be on a new show for NBC. Hugh Laurie's on a new show, for NBC. I don't know anything about it, but let's get back to some clippage. This is one that I pulled out that I'd never heard of the show before. I loved the show because I'm a huge fan of English humor. This is from the show called No Pressure to Be Funny. It is a topical comedy podcast. Radio host James O'Brien hosts the thing, and it was created by two comedians, Nick Revel and Alistair Berry. They have a live audience. I think it's done in the theater. At least it has that kind of ambiance to it. And here's a great piece. It's not great in terms of huge laughs. It's done kind of in the style, to me, of if you're ever a fan of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It had that kind of dry Douglas Adams humor to it. But here's Nick Revel talking about the war in Afghanistan.
11 years ago, we went into Afghanistan to destroy terrorist training bases, and I personally think we had every right to do so, and I can totally understand why NATO targeted those bases and destroyed them. And 11 years later, we're still there. The bases aren't, but only because they've relocated to Yemen, Somalia, and just about every country in North Africa, apart from the ones where we send people to be tortured while we wage the war on terror, which has been renamed now for marketing purposes. Whatever the new name is, isn't as catchy because no one can remember it. So it seems to me that the two choices we have are to invade everywhere that an Islamic terrorist pops up, which means just about every country on the planet, or find a new way. I mean, to be fair, we have achieved some stuff while we've been in Afghanistan. We've overthrown Group A, a government of misogynistic, drug-dealing warlords, and replaced it with Group B, an elected government of warlord misogynists who deal way more drugs, but also wear Western-style suits. Oh, and the meaning of the word elected in that last sentence has been redefined for marketing purposes. And anytime soon, if not at the moment, we will be negotiating with Group A to find a way of them to work with Group B in government. And meanwhile, our soldiers will be getting killed until the balance of power is restored to roughly what it was 11 years ago before they were sent there. I don't know whether you know this, but the sharp end of the war is fought from these forward operating bases, which can only be supplied along really perilous mountain roads, which are controlled by warlords and the Taliban and the Haqqani network and so on. An ambush is very easy. So NATO have to pay the warlords and the Taliban so that the supplies can get through to the forward bases unmolested, so that NATO can then fight the same warlords they pay to let the supplies get through. And I think it's comforting to know that this war is being conducted according to the highest British principles of fair play. It's not the winning that is important, it's the taking part that counts. No one in all of history has successfully invaded Afghanistan, and I think the people who planned that invasion should have known that. Or at least maybe they might have read a newspaper at some point between 1980 and 1989. And if they had, they might have noticed that the USSR, a country which no longer exists, tried to invade Afghanistan, and that's one of the reasons that it no longer exists. Because I think if you're going to invade a country, you should at least have enough knowledge about it to make a reasonable showing in a pub quiz. That seems to me only polite to the people directly involved. Now, don't get me wrong, I've no sympathy for people who shoot Muslim schoolgirls in the head for wanting to be schoolgirls, nor for people who don't utter a word of objection about that, but do riot and kill over a crap film that slanders their imaginary friend. And I also wear a poppy, not to celebrate the killings, but to mourn the dead. But I won't be going to the Sun newspaper's annual Millies Awards this year, where soldiers get to stare fleetingly down the silicon-enhanced cleavage of a real-life soap opera sex goddess and have a drink with a famous footballer as compensation for having their arms blown off in the collective effort to increase Halliburton's stock value. Categories at the Millies include Best Unit, Bravest Soldier, and Most Photogenic Afghan Civilian Maimed in a Drone Attack. One of those categories I made up. I support the troops in that I don't think they should be in harm's way in Afghanistan, and yet in many people's eyes that's an insult to the dead, apparently, and the only way to show respect is to keep sending more to die. Like the other day, and this is true, I was doing a gig, and a guy in the audience says to me, "You disgust me. Our lads are fighting and risking their lives for our freedom in Afghanistan, and you're just standing there saying whatever you want."
I never thought that political humor could be that funny. I mean, it's just that was a great. I mean, that quote.
Yes.
I mean, it's so eminently quotable. I loved it. I love that you could also hear the audience reaction too. That really gives credence to what he was speaking about.
But I really found that great. It was really subtle, which is again in the tidal wave of podcasts currently out there. Subtlety is not a strong point.
Exactly.
At all. So find more of No Pressure to Be Funny at comedy.co.uk/podcast/no_pressure_2_be_funny. Why do people do that?
Say, you know what? Yeah,
and iTunes. Go to Google or go to iTunes.
Right.
No Pressure to Be Funny. Find those guys. Really funny show. It was great to be able to get that little clip, but the whole thing was funny. Let's go to a show that I'd never heard before I got your clip called Throwing Shade. Unfamiliar with it?
You have not heard this show?
Aaron Gibson and Brian Safi?
Brian Safi. Yeah, they're improv comedians.
Okay.
And Aaron Gibson, I mean, she works for Funny or Die.
Oh, okay.
That's one of her. She's also like an actress, comedian. Brian Safi's also a comedian. What they do is, the best way to describe it is it's kind of like improv. It's almost like an improv podcast in the sense that, like, they talk about news stories, but they're constantly, I think they might be lying about a lot of things, and they just have fun. And it's one of those crazy...
I just like the phrase, I think they might be lying.
I think they might be lying. But it was like, there was one of the episodes, this is not in the clip that you're about to hear, but in one of the episodes they talk about Brian Safi off. He says, well, Star Wars Episode 1 was the best of all the movies. And then they go off on that, and it's just neither of them shuts the other one down. They're constantly throwing out theories. But it starts with a news story. It always starts with some news story, and then it goes off the rails. And I love Aaron, and I've never met Brian, but I'm sure I would love him too.
That's great. Here's a taste of throwing shade.
Brian, you know the movie Bad News Bears?
Oh yes, with who is it? Tatum O'Neal and Christy McNichol and.
Well, let's pretend that you're a bear, and I have bad news for you.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah,
like a bear, like a gay bear. That's like leather chaps. Yeah, yellow water sports, piss play, that kind of thing.
Are you ready? Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
whatever you want.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the bad news, bear?
I'm ready, baby.
Women aren't women anymore.
What?
Everything.
What the fuck are they?
They're just these man-hating, ball-chopping off, angry, defensive, career-loving, child-hating, walking vaginas.
Oh, God. That sounds worse than ever. Although it is funny to picture a woman as just a walking vagina.
Isn't it
Do you know
fun?
what I mean? It's funny because
it's all I
like,
see. You know Alien Nation, the show Alien Nation?
It's the only show I've ever seen in my life.
Well, that's what I see when I see women walking. I'm the guy who can only see the aliens, but instead of aliens, I see just walking vaginas.
Yeah.
Do you have that disease too?
I do. I have the disease where I see dogs and all I see are, the face of Laura Bush.
Oh yeah,
but that's just me.
I don't have that problem.
Yeah.
So this woman, Suzanne Venkner.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Suzanne Sugarbaker.
Yeah, I know. And I just want to clarify really quickly. This Suzanne Venkner is no relation to Peter Venkman
from Ghostbusters.
Yes. She did this fun story on Fox News today, which I'm sure everyone's been talking about. It's called The War on Men.
Well, there is a war on men, that is for sure.
Well, Syria is different. Are you talking about Syria?
Yeah, and the Gaza Strip.
She's talking about a culture war.
Oh, I see.
Not doesn't involve guns, it involves
people who hated Anna Karenina.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So anyway, this woman has written, first of all, she loves colorful necklaces. Let's make that very clear. Okay. She loves colorful necklaces.
She likes a funky chain.
Mm-hmm. She was a teacher turned social commentator.
Okay.
She's written lots of books. Let me just tell you a little bit about her background. So this is her bio from the article, just to give you some background before I get into it.
Please do.
So she's written extensively about politics, parenting, and the influence of feminism on American society. Her latest book, How to Choose a Husband and Make Peace with Marriage, will be published in February 2013. So fucking mark your calendars, motherfuckers.
February 2013, How to Choose a Husband.
That's the day before Valentine's Day.
As if ladies get the choice in that. I mean, let's be honest. Like, dudes sort of pick that one out.
Well, not anymore.
Girls will marry anyone.
No, because guys, no. Here's the thing. She's the author of 3 whole books on American family and its intersection with pop culture. And she spent 13 years examining social agendas as they pertain to sex, parenting, and gender roles. And Brian, during this time, she has spoken with hundreds, maybe thousands. There's really too many to count. Right.
No
of men and women. And here's what she came up with.
Oh boy.
Here's what these people told her in confidence. She's met hundreds of people over the course of 13 years. Can you imagine?
No, I can't.
Can you imagine?
Not at all.
So she said that she's accidentally stumbled upon a subculture of men who have told her in no uncertain terms that they're never getting married. And when she says, why, boo-boo? Mm-hmm. Why you not get married?
Right.
The answer is always the same. Women aren't women anymore.
Well, they're not.
Which I can't think of a clearer statement for hundreds of men to make, according to this woman.
Well, have you heard of transgender?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I think
So I think she means that most women are actually becoming men now.
She's saying women be acting different.
Oh,
That's
I
what
see.
she's saying.
Yeah.
So she's saying...
Is that why I'm getting... I don't know. I feel like that's why lately I've been very, very attracted to Kathy and Jimmy.
Yes, that's probably due to that.
Yeah.
That and your deep, deep, deep love for all movies about nuns.
Yes, and
Yeah.
Veronica's Closet.
Oh, you love Veronica's Closet.
Girl.
They are very funny. Like I said, I'd never heard of them before, but definitely, I actually listened to that clip like 3 different times because I did find it very funny. Their interplay and chemistry, and that's in some podcasts, that's almost all you've got going for you. Is if you work with more than one person, do you have that chemistry?
Well, Aaron and Brian definitely have that chemistry. I mean, Aaron being just a proponent of, of women's rights in terms of just like stay out of my vagina, which is pretty much it's depressing to me that women now have to say it's like just stay out of my vagina. Everything from Measure B to all these insane Republicans and their stances on rape, which just make no sense whatsoever. And Brian being very flamboyantly gay, just the chemistry between the two of them is so amazing. And just the fact that they're just willing to just go crazy places. It's like being on a road trip with really fun people who are smart enough to pack alcohol. And they do talk about I think that they record the show drinking wine.
It put me a little bit in the mind, if you ever heard any of the those old recordings by Cook and Moore, Dudley Moore and Peter Cook.
Oh no!
There's 2 records, and you can probably find them in some shop somewhere.
Records are before podcasts.
Oh yes, this is a long time ago. But it was called, I'm going to forget in the pressure of the moment what they had a name for their duo. It wasn't either of their real names.
You could actually,
Derek and Clive.
Oh wow,
that was the name, Derek and Clive, and they got completely shit faced and recorded 2 albums worth of material in one night in a recording studio in England when they were both very young men.
Wow.
And it's some of the fun, most of the references are going to be lost on people that aren't from Britain, but it is some of the funniest stuff you've ever heard.
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
What was the very first podcast? What was if someone were doing a documentary or a book about podcasting, what would be, this was the first podcast? I mean, there are many precursors. I mean, radio was effectively a precursor to podcasts in terms of the medium. What was the first podcast? If someone was to say, if someone was...
Well, people often credit... who is it that gets the credit for them? Only because he was the most popular, I think, was Ricky Gervais.
You think so?
I think he was 2005, maybe.
That long ago? I don't know.
Well, that's it for this week's show. I really want to thank Marc Hershon from Succotash. I mean, that is this. Put this in your rotation as one of your new podcasts to listen to. Look it up. Of course, it's on iTunes. You can also go to succotash.libsyn.com. You can get more about Marc at Marc Hershon, HERSHON.com. Also, check out the show Twitter, Succotash Show on Twitter, and of course, Facebook. Look up Succotash. Look, come to some of these PodCRASH live events. You have no idea what you're missing. February 23rd, it is an all-zombie PodCRASH. Follow me on Twitter at that Chris Gore. Follow the show at PodCRASH Show. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/PodCRASH, and go to iTunes. Go to iTunes. Give us a review. If you think we deserve 5 stars, give us a review. Give me a review of 5 stars. And I will read the review or an excerpts from your review here on the show, on next week's show. And you know what? One final thing. Let's get out of here. And I actually have to get out of here because I gotta get on the road. I gotta go to Park City. I gotta go. Bye.
Tango 1, I have him in the rocks. Salvo wall. Turn it into a parking lot.
Hey, if you're still listening to this, you're probably a lot like me. You're the kind of person who takes way too long to pack when you go on a long trip, and then you have to start evaluating what you're putting in your luggage as you're packing and saying, do I really need 6 pairs of shoes? I got Converse, I got my boots, I've got a backup pair of boots in case these get wet. If you're that